Hello, this is Jason Robertson speaking from high up in the mountains above Jackson Hole, Wyoming in the United States on a beautiful late August day, and I was asked by AGTCM in Offenbach, Germany to say a few words about a course I'm going to be teaching there just about a year from right now, August 5th, 6th, 7th, and 9th, 5 days in Offenbach, Germany. This course was really inspired by a conversation I had with Dirk Barron, who is one of the founding members of that school in Offenbach, about his time studying with Dr. Wang and the way the study of applied channel theory, which was developed by my teacher Wang Jui, was often done in these kind of 5-day, kind of more slowed down, in-depth lecture series where there's lots of time for hands-on practice, question and answers with students. Instead of maybe the book format that I've worked on and that maybe some of you have seen in German, Applied Channel Theory in Chinese Medicine, or some of the 2 or even 3-day weekend courses that I've done in Europe over the last few years. Instead, what we're going to try to do for this course in August of 2020 is have a 5-day course where we all get together. Students who've been studying this material for years, but also new students as well will get something out of this course, because the way it's going to be formatted is we are going to go back over, at the very beginning, an overview of applied channel theory, and again, looking at this as a system of medicine, a xue pai, a way of seeing, a way of thinking in Chinese medicine that can be compared and contrasted with other forms of acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine. But fundamentally, applied channel theory is the use of 6-channel theory, Liu Jing Qi Hua, 6-channel Qi transformation concepts in acupuncture. That's the theory part. The second part is the use of palpation and hands-on diagnostic practice to try to figure out what is going on in the organs of the body by looking for patterns of illness. In that first day, we're going to go over this concept and how applied channel theory is part of Chinese medicine, is a legitimate thread, a way of seeing in Chinese medicine. And for those of you who've studied other types of Shanghai Lun thinking or other approaches to Chinese medicine, I think you would find this very invigorating to see some of the same ideas come up and inform diagnosis and treatment with acupuncture. And then the second day, we're going to go through the 5 transport points, the Wu Shu Xue, going through each one, talking about the nature of that point, talking about how it is found and located by Dr. Wang, and this is based on his 52 years of clinical experience, and also talking about common clinical point pairs, common clinical applications of various points, and then weaving in examples of how this has been used in my clinic in Seattle for the last 20 years as well. Always, there's going to be lots of time for question and answer, and I'm very good at moving on when I know there's going to be a question that someone asks that we're going to get to later. So the 5 transport points, going through these in common point pairs, stopping to locate in the afternoons, and then starting in that second day and every day after, there's going to be live case demonstrations where I'll take patients either from students in the class or other patients who are provided by the school there in Offenbach, and we're going to treat patients live. And another major theme I want to get at in these 5 days together is not just applied channel theory as something out of a book, or channel palpation as an idea of looking for tender points of needle, which is not really what we're talking about doing. We're using diagnosis and treatment as a form of clinical reasoning in Chinese medicine. So a big theme I want to talk about is expanding a kind of logic within the system of Chinese medicine of clinical reasoning. So the afternoons will be live demonstrations of the ideas we talk about each day. Now the third day, we're going to finish the 5 transport points, talk more about clinical reasoning, do some live case studies, and also describe some of the case studies from Dr. Wang Juyi's work from his clinic in Beijing. We have a clinical case studies book that's in Chinese that we're working on finishing, hopefully even by the time this course is done, but sometime in 2020 or 21. So I want to go over some of his case studies and talk about his way of approaching difficult diseases as well. Then the third day, now we're to the third day, the fourth day, we'll be talking about the source points and the collateral points. These are some of my favorite points to use in the clinic. Again, how are they located? The nature of each of these points, their kind of personality and the clinic and how they're used. Especially useful common clinical point pairs, clinical reasoning, ways to choose not just individual points, but coming up with point formulations, combination of points that helps you get more clinical effects. Always focused on deriving these approaches through a combination of theory, six-channel theory, and hands-on palpation. Dr. Wong's, one of his favorite things to say was that, you know, theory is something that should be used to explain reality and not create reality. And so much of acupuncture is beautiful theoretical ideas that don't always work in the clinic because they're not necessarily connected to a hands-on or some sort of palpable diagnostic approach. So again, when we talk about the source points or collateral points, I want to talk about how they're felt, how they're located, and how they're used as well. And then by the fifth day, favorite category, the chi clef points as well will be discussed. We'll talk about chi clef points, we'll talk about how they're located, talk about commonly used, I would say, not quite point protocols, but the way I use clef points in musculoskeletal conditions is very common in my clinic in Seattle. So we'll talk that day about musculoskeletal conditions in some detail and the use of chi clef points, combining them in different ways across the body, combining different paired and same way moving channels, using clef points and treating musculoskeletal conditions in those days. And again, going into the idea in this last day, very importantly, in the fifth day, of talking about choosing channels for treatment and differentiating the channel where the problem is. Dr. Wong would put those actually, in the reverse order. First, one has to figure out where the problem is, and he would call that, differentiating the channel. So that would be finding the channel where the problem is, bianjing. And then after you figured out the channel where the problem is, then we have to figure out the channel that we're going to treat, and that would be xuanjing, choosing the channel for treatment. Very often, of course, we choose the channel where the problem is for treatment. But in very complex and difficult and chronic conditions, what we're often doing instead is taking healthy channels, channels where they aren't necessarily disease, but because of our understanding of physiology, bringing in healthy channels to help move disease, move illness through the body. So this will be a concept, a further development of this idea of clinical reasoning that we'll be doing in that fifth day. So I really welcome students not only from Germany, we'll have German translation, but also students who've studied with me in the United States, students from England or other places in Europe, and come to this class. We're going to take 5 days to get together with people who are passionate about using applied channel theory, using six-channel thinking in the practice of acupuncture. It's a great place to study in Offenbach. I've been there at least 5 times. Dr. Wong went there with me twice, and I was translating for him there. It's a wonderful place to study, very well organized, and so I think you'll all have a great time coming there. If you have questions, please feel free to email me at KentuckyGinseng, KentuckyGinseng, @yahoo.com, or of course contact the school at the site where this video is being placed and ask them questions as well. I look forward to seeing you all there, and have a good year in the meantime. I'm going to keep hiking here up through the American Alps, the Grand Teton Mountains in Wyoming. Okay, see you guys soon. Thanks, bye.